In this video, we're going to look at reconciling hard-bounced email addresses. When an email bounces, this means it was not delivered for one reason or another. There are different kinds of bounces for different situations. A hard bounce means the email address flat out doesn't exist. Think of it like a return to sender when trying to send something in the post to an address that doesn't exist. There are many reasons why a once valid email address stops working. However, just because an email stops working doesn't mean that we shouldn't try and continue a relationship with that person. Unfortunately, most businesses don't place a high priority on contacting and recovering a working email address. This can result in false list statistics. For example, if we have 100 people but 15 are hard bounced, we really only have 85 people who can be reached via email. Not only does this bad data throw off reporting, it can also lead to a bloated and effectively useless database. The good news is that with Infusionsoft, we can automatically catch emails when they hard bounce and assign a task to someone to contact the person and collect a working email. So in this video, specifically, we're going to be looking at building the recovery model, configuring the workflow, and then setting up that automation trigger. Before getting started, you're going to want to set up a functional tag for the hard bounce. So assuming we have a functional tag for the hard bounce created, we can now build our model. So when an email hard bounces, we want to go ahead and start a task to collect a good email, and then that'll be collected through an internal form. So we're going to call this admin hard bounce email recovery. And this is our model. Pretty straightforward. Email hard bounces, we're going to call them, and hopefully get a good email. So we're going to double click on the tag goal here, and this is where we're going to configure it for that hard bounce tag we've created. So I've got it in an email engagement category. Inside the sequence here, we're going to have a single task, which is to collect a good email. We're going to open this one up. And now we're going to give the user some context about what's going on here. What is this task? So this is a hard bounced email. And I'm going to put the person's name in here. Okay. So now we can say something like, please call them at phone to get a working email address. Use the internal form, and we'll put some brackets there. We'll come back to that to record the new email address. So we're actually going to go grab the exact name of that form, make it easy for the end user. So I'm going to copy that. Okay, so we're telling the user exactly which form they need to fill out. And you can choose who it's going to go out to. We need at least a backup user and a priority. And we can now mark this as ready. And then we're going to go ahead and grab a tag goal, and we're just going to remove that hard bounce tag here. This way, if another attempt is sent for some reason and it hard bounces again, this whole thing can repeat itself. One thing here, I'm actually going to turn the priority down to essential, just to help people prioritizing on the front lines. This isn't necessarily the first thing they need to be doing, but it is very important for the relationship. So now we can go ahead and mark this whole sequence as ready. And double-clicking into the internal form. All we need here is an email address, and let's provide some context for the person using it. So use this form to collect a good working email when someone's current email address has hard bounced. Alright, there you go, a little bit of context for the end user. And now we can mark this form as ready. And at this point we can go ahead and publish this campaign, and hopefully it'll be okay. hopefully you can see a bunch of stuff here. So here's what we've just built. So now the last piece is to actually configure this tag to fire when an email hard bounces. So exiting out of the campaign builder, in the marketing section we're going to go down to our settings, and then down here at the bottom we're going to go to our email status automation. And using this drop down here for choose trigger type, we're going to say when an email bounces and click add trigger, and this will bring up a pop-up. So now we're going to configure for when the bounce type is a hard bounce and the email has bounced at least one time. So that's going to be the conditions when the email hard bounces at least once. And then under the actions, we're going to add a new action to apply the tag and put it in our hard bounce tag. And at this point, we can go ahead and save our trigger. So now, whenever Infusionsoft sends an email and it returns as a hard bounce, the functional tag will be automatically applied, which triggers the recovery campaign. When a user submits the internal form to update the email address, the bad email on file will be overwritten. As you may have noticed in this trigger, there's many different kinds of bounce types, and you can definitely create different experiences depending on the situation. One thing to be aware of is that not all contacts are going to have a phone number on file. So to make sure that we don't waste time, we can make this functional tag application based on a rule that checks for the presence of a phone number. So if we go ahead and edit this action and we say only run when certain rules are met, and we're going to go ahead and add a new rule here. We're going to call the name phone present with a question mark. Basically asking, do we have a phone number present? We're going to change this to none, and it'll become apparent why in just a second. And now we're going to go ahead and create criteria for when any of the phone numbers themselves are empty. So when phone 1 is empty, and then we can select phone 2, phone 3, phone 4, and so on. I'm not necessarily going to do all 5 of them, but this would be what the rule looks like. So is a phone present? Well, if none of these rules are true, then yeah, we do have a phone number on file because it's not empty. So now when we save it, we can save and close, and now save this actual action. And you'll see what this is basically saying is, hey, is there a phone present? If so, then apply the hard bounce tag. For a similar model to this, download the hard bounce recovery campaign from the Infusionsoft Marketplace. In the next video, we're going to look at tracking email engagement levels.